But why do people actually get married in real time, especially in Africa? Data that we saw had to do with sex. That was like number one, access to sex, regular. Fact number one, if you place anything as a pedestal, dear ones, the truth is that in order for you to find yourself, you have to be a little bit rebellious. Have you ever known anyone who discovered something by going with what everybody says? You have to step out a little bit and just be a little bit willing to challenge what society expects you to do at a certain given time. Just checking to see if this thing is still burning. Okay, so what are the facts that I want to share with you people on why it's important to have the correct view of marriage? It's important to have the correct view of marriage because some of the happiest married people, including the ones I know personally and what the research shows so far, are people who worked on themselves and their own happiness before they got married. Secondly, people who get married, and so let me say you get married and then you because you thought it was the ultimate achievement, then you neglected your friendship circle, usually end up feeling isolated in the marriage because your friend circle is part of your identity before you got married. So you were supposed to take it along with you. And so when women say, oh, he hangs out with his friends more than I more than me, it's really not very healthy. Both parties are supposed to have friends with whom they hang out even inside a committed relationship. Now, another thing is, if you view marriage as an achievement, like I said at the very beginning, even if that marriage is abusing you or abusing your child, you would choose your partner. And this is for women mostly. You would choose to stay over your child, and that is so sad, and shame on you if you decide to stay in an abusive marriage that is abusing your child because you view marriage as an achievement more than the happiness of your own child. And a child always should come first. The other thing is that the better you are in communicating your needs to yourself, when you talk to yourself like, oh baby, what happened to your leg? Oh, why do I feel like this? Oh, how do I fix this? The more healthy your communication will be in marriage with your partner, especially if he or she is also emotionally literate or emotionally intelligent. Another fact is the happier you are before you marry, if you are able to sustain your happiness outside of marriage alone, the happier you'll be inside of marriage. There's still Duchess Meghan Markle. Anyways, I wanted to just talk about her briefly for sending her child to a school where they teach emotional literacy. I think that if Africa faces mental health and emotional health issues the way we face circumcision, I think that it will be a very good thing and we'll be in a very good place. It will stop a lot of things, including bullying and killing of young people in school that has been happening recently. Now, if you think marriage is an achievement, you are also going to look to your partner to complete you, which is very unhealthy and toxic, instead of knowing that you are enough and you're supposed to share your complete life, your complete self with another person who has also been on that journey and feel complete within themselves. And so you'll be able to have a more healthy union together, so you're not codependent on each other, like I said at the beginning of the video, which you should check out for more exclusive content on codependency by becoming our Patreon on patreon.com. And finally, if you think marriage is an ultimate achievement, if your marriage ends, because anything can happen, right? You can only control yourself. Anything outside of yourself is not controllable. People change, spouses change. So if your marriage ends, you will almost lose your life. You sink into depression because you think that you've lost your identity. Meanwhile, that is not your identity. Dear one, I want to say to you today that don't let people define for you what is an achievement or what is not. Marriage is not, quote unquote, an achievement on that nature. Being sustainably happy, knowing the things that make you happy, if that includes marriage, good for you. But knowing them and being able to do them, that is an achievement, because that's not a journey that a lot of people can do. And you know why using marriage as a status quo to measure your happiness and your achievement is very, very unhealthy? It's because marriage is dependent on another person. And you see, you cannot do anything that has to do with another person in a way that has to do with controlling that other person sustainably. The only person you have control over every single time is yourself. So if you get married and you lose your identity, and this happens a lot to the women we work with, and I worked with a lot of women when I did my first postgraduate studies. I worked on marriage and trauma in marriage, and discovered that many of this trauma was created in marriage. And now the child clinic where I work as a volunteer, the children who have the most emotional and psychological issues are children who were raised in those dysfunctional, toxic, unhealthy marriages. So at the end of the day, it all boils down to what we want to leave for the new generation. So please ask yourself this question and find these answers. If you are getting into a marriage, you lose yourself in your partner. That's usually what happens. People be like, Maya, when I entered into the marriage, I knew myself. Now I don't even know who I am anymore. That's because you made the marriage your all and all, and so you lost yourself in your partner. You should always hold on to yourself. Even if you are in a union with another person, you should always have yourself, and he should have himself, and vice versa if he's a man or a woman. So therefore, marriage is a goal that can be achieved on your personal goal list, but it's not an achievement to score anybody on. People are on different life journeys, so stop scoring them on what you think their life journey should be. And you watching this too, stop letting people score you. And those people asking me those interesting questions on WhatsApp and sliding into my DM, I'm gonna put your questions there on this screen. Maybe I just put one just so that I'm not going to suffer on that. I'm not going to shame on her like that, But you people need to stop asking that. You need to raise your consciousness, because this thing actually boils down to consciousness. The more awakened you are, the more you don't do it overnight. The more, because I definitely wasn't thinking like this when I was in my teenage years, So the more conscious you are, the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more you realize that finding yourself, going on a journey to find yourself, it takes courage to discover yourself, to find yourself, because you might not like what you find. You might need to work on a lot of things. Being able to find yourself and become secure in yourself and sharing that with another secure, complete person, that is an accomplishment. That is an achievement. But everything outside of the self is really part of the journey of finding a self. It's part of the journey of self-actualization. So marriage is part of the journey of self-actualization for some people, just like having kids is for some people, but it's not for everybody. So you cannot call it an achievement, because for someone it might be, but another person it might not be. It might just be like a burden. The real question is, how happy are you? Being able to sustain your own happiness independent of another person, that is an achievement. Of course, having a marriage partner who also supports your happiness is something to be applauded. But allowing that to define your achievement in life, like, oh, my partner supporting makes me happy, and that becomes an achievement. Remember, tomorrow something could happen. It could be death, it could be illness. Or the person could change. Life is full of change. So ensure that your identity is glued to who you are, yourself, and it's not dependent on another person doing certain things in order for you to be happy. Because if it is, that means you have codependency or codependent tendencies. Once again, you have to check that out for more details on Patreon. Finally, achievement itself is not identity. I'm talking about education or whatever. It's not identity. We are not our race. We are not our tribes. We are not our schools. We've just tied our identities to all these things that have nothing to do with who we are, right? And so when we hit this word as children, when you came out of your mother's womb as a child, you were worthy, point blank, period. So every other thing that we are using to tie our identities to, no, those are not the self. Those are not the self. They are just extensions that we use. We strike off our bucket list as we grow in our life. The true self, our true self, is inherently worthy, regardless of whatever it is that is going on in our external life, or whatever we might have achieved or may not have achieved. And why is it important for me to say that? Because some people think that their job is their identity. Oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. And so when something happens and they lose their license, it's almost like, bam, they want to lose their life. Bam, they want to lose this. Those things are not your identity. They are just things that you did. You created those things. You can recreate another one. And it's part of why, for example, when someone tells me, oh, this dress makes you look good, I always tell them, no, I make the dress look good. Because the dress is nothing without you wearing it. When you wore the dress, you brought out the beauty in the dress. Without you, A dress, a makeup palette is just a makeup palette. When you embody it, you make it become something. I hope what I'm saying is sinking in. Now, some people be like, but Maya, I want kids. So I want to get married because I want kids. But I want to ask you now, why do you want kids? Is it because you want someone to take care of you in old age? It's funny the answers we get when we ask our subconscious mind questions. And dear one, there is nothing wrong with wanting kids. We are going to explore that in this series as we go on. Absolutely not. I'm just being naughty at the end. But there is really nothing wrong having kids. So, but in case marriage is your goal, not your ultimate goal, it's one of the goals on your list. So I hope this has desensitized that, oh, marriage on the pedestal, oh, I have to get married by this age, and start getting depressed. I hope this video has calmed your nervous system on that matter and really awaken your consciousness on this. And so, assuming that has happened to you, I now want to say that if you really do have marriage on one of your bucket lists, another person will be coming to speak on this matter next week through the lens of a married woman from the inside. Anyways, in conclusion, remember, please, dear one, that don't let society's definition of what an achievement is be what it is for you. Follow what the mental health facts are so that you end up in a place that is actually good for your mental health. Because everything that we are in life, we generate from our emotional being, from how we feel. So the real question is not, am I getting married or whatnot? The real question is, am I going to be happy in that place? Have I found someone with whom I can be happy on a sustainable level? And have I done the work on myself to bring to be able to live with another person and not create and generate happiness with that person instead of generating toxicity? Because some of us are actually toxic without knowing that we are acting toxic. Some of us act toxic without knowing we're acting like that. But we can always change, and that's the power of self-awareness. And I hope that at the end of this video, or if you haven't done so already, maybe you have, that you become a patron. But in conclusion, the conclusion is, make sure that you understand and you put marriage in the right place. Don't place it on the pedestal. It's a good thing to have on your to-do list. It's a good thing to be able to do it. It's a better thing to be able to do it in a healthy way. And do not let people define what your identity is. Make sure you define it for yourself, because you will be shocked that many of them who are trying to define for you what marriage is, or the time that you should get married, they're actually dying in these spaces and they're not happy, if they will be honest with you. But I'm not saying that everyone who is married is unhappy. There are a lot of happy married people, and most of them will tell you that they did the inner work. They found out all their deal breakers, healed their wounds, or as much as they could, before they got committed to another person in a space like marriage. So if you want to know how you can do that work, that inner work, that healing journey, all of that, if you want to know how you can do it, be sure to become our patron. It's going to cost you just $3 per month, but it's going to give you access to exclusive content that is going to help you to heal those wounds. And if you go to patreon.com, just type Enchanting Naturals and the Soul Spa, you'll find us there. The reason why that is important is because we actually use funds from the space, from Enchanting Naturals and the Soul Spa, to support this foundation, Enchanting Life 18 Foundation. Next week, we will see you there. I'll be making a short introduction for the lady who will be presenting more facts about if marriage is an achievement and what you can do to actually get that goal, if that's what your goal, if it's on your goal list. Actually, we're talking with you about what you need to do to achieve that goal in a healthy way. And until then, remember that you are good enough, you're worthy. If you have a child in your house, make sure you treat the child well, because every child is good enough, so treat them like you see the good in them. I love you all very much. Thank you for watching to the end, and I wish you lots of love and light. Namaste. Bye bye for now.